The hostile relations between India and China seem to have thawed. India's Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri said the other day that both countries have reached an agreement to allow patrolling along borders to the level of, say, pre conflict days. China has not responded about this. China has not made any comment. But subsequently, India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar repeated the words of Mr. Vikram Misri. He said India and China has reached out a patrolling arrangement along LOC and both countries can patrol in a way that they did before 2024 May when the armies or troops of India and China clashed at Galwan. If this comes true, it is definitely a welcome change in India China relations. Many people point out that this could be prior to the proposed meeting of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Xi Jinping in Russia, which will be held as a part of BRICS meeting. But many eyebrows have also been raised. Many people express the doubt if the peace is going to sustain. You know, India and China have been engaged in a almost a perpetual conflict over decades. So, can this be all on a sudden resolved by this agreement? Absolutely not. Nobody thinks like that. But at least for the time being, at least temporarily, there is going to be a cessation of hostilities. That is what many people hope for. Let's also analyze the theory of war, the idea or perspective of war followed by both India and China. It seems that China has got a very different perspective about war, not just compared to India, but when compared with all other or many countries in the West as well as Southeast Asia. Let's look into all those different concepts or perspectives and the current scenario and what is going to emerge out of this agreement. Welcome to Insights. This is Hari Kumar. Let's start with the present situation. So, with the Foreign Secretary as well as the External Affairs Minister of India, Mr. Jaishankar, publicly announcing that both India and China have reached an agreement about patrolling different flashpoints. Let's think that things will almost return to pre conflict days. That is, as I said earlier, 2020 May, when Indian and Chinese troops clashed at Galwan and other flashpoints along the line of actual control at East Ladakh. We need to go a little farther. That is 2017. It was in 2017 that Indian and Chinese troops clashed at Doklam. It was not as severe clash as that happened at Galwan. In Doklam, actually, the clash was Indian troops entered the area which belongs to Bhutan, which is a country which has got some kind of defense cooperation arrangement with India. What happened was Chinese troops intruded into Doklam, which is a very strategically important territory, and they started building a road. Indian troops, numbering over 250, entered the area along with bulldozers and forcibly stopped the road construction. That could have been a shock to China. Perhaps China might have been testing the willpower of India also, because Prime Minister Narendra Modi had come to power in 2015 and China wanted to test his willpower also. That could also be one of the reasons. But China had to retreat, and that was a humiliating defeat for China. So perhaps from that date onwards, they might have been thinking about a revenge. And in 2020, when India was similarly constructing a road uh, at Doklam, I mean at Galwan, sorry, Galwan, Chinese troops forcibly entered Indian territory. Not just at Galwan, they entered at different other points also. For example, Pangong Lake, then there were other flashpoints like Damchok, Hot Springs, Dapsang, all in along eastern border of Ladakh. They intruded into Indian territory, and there are different perspectives of the whole uh, clash in India. While the opposition leader Mr. Rahul Gandhi says China has occupied hundreds of square kilometers of India's land, the government of India denies it. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says not an inch of India's land has been taken over by China. But uh, both parties could be politically, that could be a political rhetoric from both Prime Minister Narendra Modi as well as opposition leader. But I don't think China has encroached India's land. What has happened is possibly China has prevented Indian troops from patrolling certain areas where both Indian and Chinese troops patrolled previously. This is what reported by the Superintendent of Police of Leh in Ladakh. In a report submitted at a meeting chaired by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Home Minister Amit Shah, National Security Advisor Mr. Ajit Doval, the SP of Leh said Indian troops could not access 26 out of the 65 patrolling points along eastern Ladakh. So that could be the situation. That it could have been an area like a buffer zone where both Indian and Chinese troops used to patrol, but China unilaterally prevented Indian troops from entering those areas. That's true. So that is why the government of India now says the patrolling will be restored to the pre-conflict days level. So definitely a, an area which is a buffer zone might have been under Chinese control all these days. And what could be the aftermath of that? Many observers say that China might have installed certain instruments, reconnaissance, spying instruments there. Will they take away, dismantle all those equipment they had installed there? Or they might have also made some infrastructure developments there. Will they dismantle all those developments? We need to wait for that. The government of India has not announced details of the agreement reached with China. Now, anyway, this is some sort of victory for India, and right from the post-conflict days in 2020, China has been partially withdrawing from many areas. For example, they have almost completely withdrawn from the south and north banks of Pangong Lake. They have withdrawn from many other areas also. So perhaps by this agreement they will withdraw or they from all the remaining areas where they have encroached. Mind you, it's not land which is completely controlled by India, but which has been patrolled by troops of both the countries. So in that way, it could have been a buffer zone. Now, with the present agreement, perhaps if what Mr. Jaishankar and Mr. Vikram Misri said is completely correct, Chinese troops are going to completely withdraw from those areas, and both Indian and Chinese troops could patrol those areas in the coming days as they used to before 2020 May. Now let's analyze China's perspective of war to calculate, to foresee how this arrangement is going to work out in the coming days. You know, China is a country which is almost in perpetual war with many of their neighbors. If you look at China's attitude towards or China's relations with Southeast Asian countries like Vietnam, Japan, Philippines, etc., we know that China always tries to assert their rights over maritime territories as well as land territories where they share borders. China follows a policy known as salami slicing. Their troops will slowly enter the territories of other countries and take possession of it. China, you know, doesn't want to engage in a full blown war. China engages in cartographic aggression. That is, they select certain areas, they encroach slowly, they cause trouble, they always test the willpower of other nations. For example, recently China even flew a balloon over United States. They were actually testing the willpower of United States. They knew that it was a totally illegal act, but they wanted to know whether how quickly the United States will shoot it down. The United States shot it down. China knew that, but they will keep on harassing others. They will check your willpower. Similarly, even if they enter into an agreement, even if they withdraw troops from certain flashpoints, they will continue to test the willpower, the preparedness of India. And for that, China is enlarging their military strength uh, exponentially. If you look at the military or the naval strength of China or the aircrafts, the number of fighter jets possessed by China, they even when it comes to naval strength, Chinese People's Liberation Army Navy of China has got more warships than even United States. Similar is the case with the Air Force also. So China increases their strength exponentially. Suppose you find that your enemy is 100 times stronger, 100 times bigger than you. Naturally, you will retreat. This is China's policy. China knows that in a real war, both the parties will suffer. Even the winner will suffer. Every victory in a real war is a Pyrrhic victory. I mean, the victor will also have much to lose. So China realized it. So they want to win without a real war. For that, they increase their strength exponentially. They always check your courage. They always check your military strength. They always check your scientific progress. This they will continue to do. So the only way to reach, a state of equilibrium with China is to improve your military strength. And India is one country, you know, which has got the manpower and resources and technology to increase the strength of their military. And India will have to do that. India will have to improve their infrastructure along Chinese borders. India will have to be in a state of perpetual preparedness. Then only they can think of having an equilibrium with China. I think peace with China is a mirage. This cannot be achieved. This is a pipe dream. You cannot have peace with China. But you can have a state of equilibrium with China. Russia has a state of equilibrium with China because China knows very well that Russia has got huge arms strength, military strength. So India can also hope to be like that. Don't become complacent. Complacency will again lead to a situation when what Jawaharlal Nehru had to suffer, China will attack you. I think the present peace arrangement between China and India is good for both the countries. I think India already had shown its willingness because some newspaper reports had said that India had removed certain impediments for Chinese investments in India. Then the Japanese paper Nikkei Asia had reported that. India and China are having a very vibrant trade relation. India needs to build on its manufacturing strength. India needs to improve its military strength. Then we will have a state of equilibrium. Otherwise, China will continue to harass us. China will continue cartographic aggression. They will occupy our lands. That's for now. Meet you with another topic next time. Till then, goodbye.